So, hi everybody, and welcome to Party Advantage. Here this evening, we have Cassie Derby, who you guys will recognize as one of our DMs, who's in charge of our Arias campaign on Tuesday evenings here. So, we just wanted to take this opportunity to pick Cassie's brain, get to know her a little bit, the woman behind the screen, as it were. So, Cassie, can we start off with how long, what got you into D&D, how long you've been playing, that sort of thing?
Alrighty. I have been DMing for about 8 to 10 years now, around about. I got into it after my husband invited me to one of his buddies' gaming sessions. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I was very good at first. My character was generated for me, and I had no idea what I was playing. I knew I was playing something called a cleric, and that was about it. And got into playing that, and yeah, that character ended up surviving longer than she probably should have, which is pretty funny. I was in a party full of evil aligned, where I was the only lawful good person in the group.
Wow. So they pre-generate your character, made you lawful good, even though they all knew they were going to be evil.
Yes.
That's quite the setup. All right.
It is.
Wow. Okay.
I was going to say, and then after that, I really liked playing, and then my brother-in-law ran a little bit of a campaign, and after a while, it was just one of those, like, probably a year into, just after playing D&D, I was just like, I think I could do this myself. Like, I really want to run a game. This seems like a lot of fun. I think the theater person, the director in me, saw this as like a mini production that I could have complete control over. So it was just a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds awesome. So you went from, player to creating your own worlds. Did you ever play? Did you start off like a lot of DMs where you played the pre-made adventures, or did you build your own worlds right from the start?
Well, that's the thing with me is I never ran or read any of the pre-made campaigns ever. It was just I was familiar with the player's handbook, the DM's guide, and the monster manual volumes 1 and 2. And this is all 3.5 edition that I played with up until just recently in the past year, moving on to 5th edition. But yeah, no, I created my own world. Like from the get-go, I was a homebrew original DM. I created my own world. My first campaign was based off of one of my favorite book series. Shout out to that one. And it's the Sword of Truth series. If anyone has ever heard of it or wants something to check out, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I wanted to run my own game, and I wanted to run something that maybe I had, like if I was going to do my own world, I wanted it to be in a setting that I was familiar with. So I created my own alternate campaign set in this book series universe. And that ended up running for like a good almost 7 years.
Mhm.
Yeah. It went from like this one group of heroes, and then like we had to break it up into seasons because it ended up like spanning generations within the world we had created.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you took world building, you didn't just build a continent, you built a whole history and a timeline and a complete, I mean,
Yes, it was one of those like what started off as kind of a homage to one of my favorite book series, and so it fit into like that world's right rules and whatnot for the most part. The first campaign really kind of like followed that alternative universe, but like by the final season, so to speak, it had evolved into its own like
Mhm.
original history and lore. There was definitely like a rich backstory. So by the time we got to like the last season, there had been probably a good 500 years within the game itself that had passed over time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So does Arias take place in the same world, or is this a whole different universe?
So within the last, it is its own whole new universe, whole new world. We stopped playing for a while just because people's schedules and stuff changed. We weren't able to game as much. Adulting becomes a priority in life, which sucks. But, um, a bunch of us still wanted to game and really liked how I told my stories from the old world. So what I wanted to do is I went in and completely from the ground up rewrote an entire new world, an entire new lore and history. Even the map was all new because I'm a visual aid kind of person. I always like to draw either maps, or even I've drawn past players and NPCs to kind of give that more flair to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So even with Arias, it's a whole new map. I think that was one of the first things that I created first was the map. And then I went in and named all the locations, and then I broke those locations up into regions and whatnot. And then I started writing the histories of each race or kingdom and whatnot, and just really started to build into that. And 5th edition really makes, I feel, world building a lot more easier
Mm-hmm.
with the races and whatnot. I think there's that freedom of creativity. So I just really ran with it. And I always told myself I'm not much of a writer, but I will say within this last year, I really sat down and kind of went from doing one line outlines of notes to full pages and pages of paragraphs.
Yeah, I will say that as one of your players and having looked through the Google Drive that you've shared with us on all of with all the sort of backstory and history here, you've compiled quite a bit, and it covers a breadth of regions and cultures in the game. So if your original campaign was inspired by one of your favorite book series, what inspired Arias?
I think a lot of things inspired Arias. I'm a huge, I'm a book nerd and I'm a history nerd. So and I'm also a video gamer. Those are my jams, man. So I think I kind of took those three things that I really, really like and enjoy and put a lot of that into my world. So I love history. So a lot of my cultures, when we get into the cities or the kingdoms, you'll see influences of traditional fantasy medieval. You'll see a little bit of Victorian era. You'll see some steampunk. You'll see some just a little bit of everything. You'll see some nerdy references to, I don't know, video games and whatnot, because I'm a sucker for that stuff. But yeah, areas, and I also like mythologies from different cultures, like North mythology and those pantheons, Greek mythologies and those pantheons, Celtic mythologies and whatnot. So a lot of even the pantheon within Arias has that influence as well.
Okay. Well, that's fascinating. It sounds like you've got quite a lot in store for us. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that towards the end of the interview here. But for the time being, let's backtrack a little bit. And let's talk about you as a DM and as a player. So, as a DM, what's your favorite aspect? What is it about DMing that you love the most?
I think it's being able to, and again, I think a lot of this is just for me personally, and a lot of my theater background. I think it's that having a story or a vision on how you want to tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking your players or your cast, however you want to refer to them, on that adventure. So it's just, I think that's what I like the most. I think I like the storytelling aspect. I am a performer, I'm a former director, and I think just uh, getting to do that is what makes it more fun as a DM.
Okay, yeah, terrific. There certainly is an improv element there, and you tell quite a story. So, so on the opposite end there, you're also a player in at least one other game, the one that I DM there. What is it about being a player that you really enjoy?
I think not having to be the one in charge. I think not worrying about if the party is going to fuck up what I have in store for them. because it is one of those, like, I try to plan all elements as a DM, but man, when you've got that one player who just always throws a monkey wrench into it, man, and he knows who I'm talking about out there. He knows who he is. But no, I like being a player. I think not knowing I think knowing that your choices will either have a reward or consequence
Mm-hmm.
is I think as a storyteller and as an enjoyer of stories, I think that's what I like. And I think that's what I like about being a player is seeing how my decisions will reflect in the world as a whole. Will it be a big impact or a small impact? I really like that.
In terms of playing the game here, be it as a DM or as a player there. What's your favorite? Heroes, villains, something in between? It sounds like you've done quite a variety.
Let's see. I always like the heroes are always fun to see how their characters grow, especially if they start off naive and then become like this really awesome dude in the end, just like overcomes all this awesome shit. But I'm gonna have to say my favorite is definitely the villain, especially a villain that you just have a ton of fun with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go villain on that.
Okay.
Especially, yeah.
So tell me about some of your favorite villains.
I'm gonna have to say my first original villain from my very first campaign.
Okay.
Her name was Regina, and she was this sorceress who started off as like an ally that like you thought she was an ally and helpful and everything, and then when I finally revealed her to betray the group and revealed her as the villain or one of the main villains, I think I think that and her being the giant thorn in everyone's side through the rest of that arc and that campaign was just fantastic. And I mean, like, she loved being evil. And I always like kept her backstory really aloof for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
so that the players couldn't figure out like maybe there's a way we can redeem her or change her mind or whatnot. Like, nah, man, she was just a straight up bitch. She loved being evil. She wanted to fuck shit up. She loved toying with the group. She'd bail out in a fight. Like, when it was convenient for her. Man, it was just, she was probably my ultimate favorite. I think my next favorite was a little, was kind of like a semi minor villain. He did kind of go on for a while, but I called him the Game Master. And he was just like this evil entity. He wasn't a person or anything. He was just this chaotic entity that existed and that had come into the world. And man, did that character leave such a scar on my husband's character for the longest time. And that was great. I loved him. Every once in a while, we would draw like later on in later campaigns and whatnot. We would make joke references like, "I don't know, is this the game master? We don't know," and it would just always fuck with him. And I love that character.
Well, it really is, one of the hallmarks of a good DM is that there's some villain in your campaign that the characters just love to hate. So, can we expect something similar to that in this campaign?
We might. There'll definitely be a villain lined up. Um, I'm getting shady eyes from my husband right now, so that's great. I think he heard me mention the GM or the game master, so now he's terrified. Don't worry, it won't be that bad, boo. But yeah, no. You can definitely expect a creative villain or two in the upcoming
Okay.
campaign.
All right. All right. So, any other teasers or hints that you might share with the audience on what they might expect?
I do have a couple of original tricks up my sleeve for dungeons and whatnot that are some player favorites. I don't want to reveal too much, but yeah, watch out for a couple of dungeon mechanics that we created over time that ended up being like a trademark thing that I have to put in every campaign.
Okay. All right.
As well as a couple of featured items, one called the Eternal Soul Slasher and the other one called the Trident of Doom. Those always somehow make an appearance in my campaigns. And they are, I was going to say, they are very sought after.
Well, that sounds wonderful. All right.
Yeah.
So that's about all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to share with us or want to make sure our audience knows before we...
I don't think so. I'm just really excited to get this story started. I think it's going to be a great group. I think everyone's going to have a lot of fun playing. Everyone sounds great together and whatnot. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun as a DM, is seeing how you guys take everything I'm about to throw at you.
Well, I, for one, am looking forward to it. So thank you very much for stepping in with us tonight and being on this interview session of the podcast. Like you're never on the podcast for any other reason, right? You know, it's exactly right. It was touch and go there for a while. You were almost edged out. But,
it was.
but
you know.
Anyway, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening tonight. Again, this has been Party Advantage, and we've been talking with Cassie Derby on the Arias campaign, which features Tuesday nights on the show starting August 14th. So make sure you subscribe and like us so you never miss an episode. And we look forward to seeing you soon. We'll see you next time on Party Advantage.